Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. He's the chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. Very good to have you with us, sir. As always, want to discuss what's going on in Brussels and the implications back here at home. But first, let's start with the exigency of politics. How do you read the play of what last night means to the candidates and to your party?
Well, good morning, Chris. Well, one thing that's being lost is we had a really important election for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and Justice Rebecca Bradley won that one running away. There were almost 100,000 more Republican voters voting for that election, or for the primary. I don't have the vote totals on the justices race, but that was an incredibly important race. So from my standpoint, what the primary shows is that the Republican base is energized. We're activated, and we're going to be, I think, coming out in droves in November.
Well, that's the concern, right? I mean, you're up for your race, and it's about what reflection will the nominee of your party for president make on all of these different elections. How concerned are you that if Donald Trump becomes the nominee, it's bad for senators named Ron Johnson?
Well, quite honestly, I'm not even thinking about it all that much because I've got my own race to run. And, I'm responsible for my own actions, my own words. And, no matter who the candidate is, a long process that has to play out here yet. Nobody can predict it. Whoever is our candidate, I intend to support that nominee. And I think once we have that nominee selected, I think Republicans are going to start focusing on the fact that the general election is going to be a comparison between Bernie Sanders, a socialist, or Hillary Clinton, who, let's face it, has more baggage than an airport claim area, and a Republican nominee. So I think that also will energize Republican voters in Wisconsin.
Do you think the race is a toss-up? Do you believe that Donald Trump's not going to get to the magic number of 1, 2, 3, 7, or at least be able to keep that number when he gets to convention?
Yeah, again, I'm no political pundit. I'm just a manufacturer from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I'm a U.S. Senator now, but I'll leave the punditry to others. I'm going to concentrate on my own job as Chairman of Homeland Security and on my own election.
Right. You are not just the manufacturer from Oshkosh. You do have a very important job as the chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. So tell us, what is your takeaway of this confused effort to get their hands around, in Brussels and in France, the nature and size and condition of that terrorist cell, and how does that threat reflect back here at home?
Well, it shows that the threat from Islamic terrorists, especially coming out of the Middle East in Syria and Iraq, is growing. The migrant flow certainly has contained some of those operatives, but just the lack of assimilation within those European cities has also created a huge problem. And the fact that ISIS continues to exist, that they have that territory, that caliphate, they'll continue to inspire and most recently now direct some of those terrorist attacks. And so it's going to have a spillover effect. Let's face it, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we had a terrorist plot that was foiled at the Masonic Temple. So these threats are real, they're growing, and until we really take out ISIS is really our first step in that battle, that long-term battle. The threats will continue to grow.
So you had a big hearing yesterday. This is what you're competing with. Back here at home, Belgium. We're not France. We don't have this insurgent population of Muslims that may or may not being mishandled by the countries that they go to. We're different. We're isolated geographically, and we don't deal with these kinds of things like Brussels here. Is there concern in that complacency?
There is. It is also true. There's been far more assimilation here in terms of Muslim population in the United States, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, we are a nation of immigrants. We're really pretty unique in the world that way, so that provides us some measure of protection. But as we saw in San Bernardino, California, as we saw the foiled plot in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, these threats are real, and they're growing. There's a report the State Department puts out, and I know the numbers are not totally accurate, but it gives you some indication. Prior to 9/11, there were about 5,000 fatalities per year due to terrorist attacks around the world. In 2012, that number had increased to 15,000. In 2014, that was almost 43,000 individuals. So again, it's hard to calculate these things, but it gives you some indication about the growth of terrorism around the world, and obviously most of it's sparked by Islamic terror.